Alright guys, we are back and we have something new in Master Duel. We have the Synchro Duelist Cup. Now, pay attention, it is a Synchro Cup, not a festival, meaning you actually have to try. It's a ladder, you gotta win. In order to get up here, get all the rewards, you actually have to try, you actually have to win. It's not enough to just skirt by with just a fun deck, you actually have to try. You can't just keep losing and losing playing your fun deck. In order to ascend, you have to win. So we're going to check out some of the loner decks they've got here. It's an all synchro festival. This is speedroid, not a bad deck at all. Kind of complicated to play, kind of random because sometimes you got to roll dice and it doesn't go your way. But generally speaking, a fun overall deck. Next, we've got another loner deck, Black Wings. Again, Black Wings is a very strong deck. You could easily, this is even a budget deck because you could get it here, or you could just, because I don't know why they actually put Black Wings here because it's already a budget deck. You can actually just get Black Wings by buying 3 structure decks. So realistically, they should have probably used another slot on this. And then we have the Cristrons, which is another very, very strong deck. Not the perfect build here, but you can definitely, you could do worse than this build. You could definitely do worse. Overall, fairly decent build. Okay, so let's move on to the section with the constructed decks. Now, before we get started, this video will definitely help you, but do you want to make your Master Duel experience a whole lot better?
Are you ready to take your Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Play experience to a new level? The Untapped GG Companion is here for you. Use the deck tracker to know exactly what cards you have in your deck, and to go over any cards you aren't familiar with yet by hovering over them. It instantly updates when you draw a card, and automatically hides if you check your extra deck or graveyard. This is the perfect tool to help you master a new deck. The Untapped GG Companion also lets you import decks directly into the game in seconds. Copy any YDK or YDKE deck string, create a new deck in game, click the Start Auto Import button, and let us take the wheel. Once the duel is over, check your win rate on your personal stats page. Brag among your friends and share your decks so they can import them into the game too. Start your path to master today by downloading the Untapped GG Companion at ygom.untapped.gg.
Okay, so the first deck I have up is Tenpai. Tenpai is still quite good. They have an unbelievable amount of hits, so like basically everything is hit. You have this card, Mass Dragon. This card is 15,000 years old, but you can actually use this to work into your Tenpais because you just normal summon, attack, crash, and then you can special summon a dragon from your deck. Easily, you could just special summon Dora, or, well, not Dora, you don't summon Dora. You summon Genroku, then use Genroku to get into either Fadra if you need it, Pydra if you need it, or Chandra if you need it. So you can actually just, attack, crash, Chandra, bam. And you're good to go. You basically have full OTK. You can also use the UFO Turtle, which can also do the same thing because it can special summon a flyer from the deck. I know as they continue to hit Tenpai, we keep boiling ourselves down to more and more and more idiotic things, but like it's probably one of the most hit decks I've ever seen in my entire life. They've hit everything. It's like this and Tearlament are just like so hit. But this deck is still playable, especially if you already own it, and because you only need like one of each, like one of this, it's like kind of budget because you only need you need so few URs that it's actually become somewhat of a budget deck. So we have 3 Mass Dragons and Ash. All of the Tenpai monsters are at 1, but you're playing so many hand traps, and you're playing so many turn-ending hand traps, but also you're playing the drawing hand traps like Maxi, like Perulia. I actually forgot to put the other hand trap too that lets you draw. I don't know why I did that, but Fualos. I forgot Fualos. So you can play Perulia, Fualos. You can actually play all 3 of them, and that'll basically guarantee you to draw and end your opponent's turn, and then you just OTK. We also have Bestial Magnum, which searches the dragon. We also have Blaster, which you can send any fire monster and itself to search any dragon. So like you have a lot of ways to get to the Tenpai monsters. Just because they're limited to 1 doesn't actually mean anything because there's a lot of ways to get to them. But I did forget to include Fualos. That should be included. You could probably cut like a Nibiru or one of these other hand traps you don't like. Maybe a copy of Blaster. You could definitely reduce some stuff. The extra deck you just max out on Synchros. Honestly, you never go into any of this stuff other than... I should have played some of the more common ones. Realistically, most games, you're going into this, and that's about it. Once in a blue, Black Rose, that's it. You might use that guy, forget his name, the one that doesn't allow effects during your opponent's turn. During your opponent's battle phase, that guy, you might use him once in a blue. But realistically, use 1, 2, and 3. And realistically, you really only use these 2. Once in a while, you'll make Trident if you don't have enough damage, but most of the time it's just these two. But overall, like I said, it's a deck that I would at this point kind of consider budget, because most people at one point have owned it, and so much of it has gotten hit that you actually don't need that many main deck URs. It's mostly just hand traps you probably already own anyway. Extra deck, again, you don't actually have to craft 3 of these. Most of the time you go into 1 of these in a game. So realistically, if you craft just the URs, it's probably this, and this, and that's like you're good. You basically built the deck, and it still will perform because it plays so many hand traps, can definitely stop your opponent's turn. Okay, next up we've got what is probably the best deck in the event, which is Centurion. This deck is already like outrageously strong. Like in regular ladder, it's really strong, and then you put it in here and it gets even stronger because it's got all of the Centurion monsters, which are very, very powerful 1-card starters. You have multiple 1-card starters, and Enma's Oath is a 1-card starter. The both of these Trudea and Primera are both 1-card starters. So you have 2 1-card starters. You have the Oath is a 1-card starter. You can play tons of hand traps. You can actually take out some of this engine stuff, take out Bestials if you want to, play more hand traps. So it's actually quite good against most of the general decks. The extra deck is extremely versatile. You have the most broken card in the entire like Synchro, in the entire like world of Synchro right now, which is Crimson Dragon. Lets you spit out these insane monsters like Cosmic Blazar essentially for free, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, this deck really isn't all that hit. It loses more like maybe SP Little Knight. Okay, like sure. The rest of this stuff is extremely strong. This is I would say this is the best deck in the entire event. It didn't get hit whatsoever, and it already was the strongest Synchro deck in the game, other than Tenpai, which is pretty heavily hit. So realistically, this is probably, if you have the crafting material, this is the deck you play. Additionally, if you play this deck, it's actually quite beneficial for you because you're getting a basically tier 3, tier 2 deck if you manage to craft it with this, and you can use some of the gems you get from this event to get this deck. If that's what you want to do. Okay, next up we've got Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier is another like really strong just Synchro deck. It's actually quite good. It's resilient too, which is kind of nice, and it's got floodgate monsters, which is kind of cool. So you could summon like General Raiho and like stuff like him right here to negate, to make your opponent discard if they activate a monster effect. Like there's a lot of really strong effects that you can use with these monsters. Like they have a lot of like outrageous floodgates, just because they were printed at a time where floodgates really didn't mean much. So they could throw, your opponent can't activate spells, or your opponent has to set spells first. Like your opponent, they can throw effects like that on these cards, and it's not the end of the world because it was 3 million years ago and it didn't really matter. Also, the boss monsters in this deck are like really good and very resilient, very sticky, as some people would call them. So you have something like Lancia, like the Lancia. If your opponent summons something, you get to summon something. He floats, and then he floats into this one. This one floats into the next Trishula. So there's a lot of floating. You have protection monsters like swordsoul, Sovereign Dude. Like you have some real stickiness to this deck and a lot of grind game. So easily one of the strongest decks in this entire thing. Maybe one of the better grind games too, out of any of the decks in here. Lots of recursion, honestly. Okay, next up we have Cristron. Cristron is also a loner deck, so you might just want to play the loner deck rather than actually building one from scratch, because it's free. And nothing beats free, because then you get some gems out of that, and then you can just move on to something else, or at least play that deck first, see how you like it, and then maybe convert over to something else if you want to play like a more constructed version, and more like, you know, if you want to get creative with it, you might as well just play it the regular way and then see how it goes first. But this deck is very strong. It's one of the newly released Synchro decks. It was just a pack ago it was released. There's not really any Synchro stuff in the very new stuff that they're releasing, but there's a lot of Synchro stuff in like 2 sets ago. So we had the Tenyis, there's a lot of Synchros in that. We had the Ice Barriers a couple of sets ago, there was a lot in there. And then now we've got the Crystron, which is just last pack. So there's been some really good Synchro support over the last few months, but just not this exact cycle. But yeah, this deck is very strong. No Hycliffe Ibrax, of course, but still a very powerful deck. One of the actual top decks on the ladder anyway. So again, it's one of those opportunities where you're like, if you wanted to learn this deck, if you wanted to build this deck, this is the opportunity, because you're learning the core Synchro aspect of this deck. And you can learn a combo off with it, and when you actually go to the regular ladder, it gets even better, because then you can finally touch those link monsters and make the deck that much better. You can play things like Clockwork Knight, and you can play the Cyber Dragon Infinity package, and to make the deck even stronger. But yeah, this deck is very, very powerful, even in its pure synchro form. Okay, lastly, we have swordsoul. I threw this deck on as kind of like a final deck because I think most of us basically have swordsoul. It's existed for such a long time. It was a free deck that Konami like basically gave away if you knew a noob. Like, you basically got this deck for free. So a lot of people have it, and it is still a very strong deck. You can build it going first, you can build it going second. It's very versatile. It has a very low floor. That's what I would say. No, not a low floor. It has a very high floor, low ceiling. You don't create the biggest boards ever with this deck, the most intense boards, but in reality, you build kind of a strong board. You build like, you put a Baron. No, I actually forgot to put Baron. So cut one of these. You actually get to play Baron de Fleur easily. You can make a board with like Baron, Chi-Xiao, Baron plus Blackout, and that's like a pretty easy board, pretty consistent board that you can throw down anytime you want to. So that's actually really cool about this deck. You can make these these boards very easily, where you could just make like your worst board. The worst board that you can make is still like 3 to 4 interruptions, which is kind of nice. And then you also have hand traps and utility cards, and like evenly matched, not evenly matched, you have utility cards like triple tactics, thrust, stuff like that. So this deck you might struggle a little to get all the way into the highest ladder, but because it's a deck that everybody owns, it is something that you can consider. Like, if you don't have any other synchro decks whatsoever and you're not trying to spend gems, you can use this, get pretty high into the ladder. Probably the last few days you could probably sneak your way into the next cup, for example, but you could struggle playing against a deck like Centurion or something like that, because that deck does at this point outgrind and outpower swordsoul. But realistically, it is very consistent, which is kind of nice. And you can also hammer in a lot more hand traps than I'm using here, because they are very good. You can definitely play Fualos also in this deck. I forgot to put Fualos in all these decks for some reason, but you could definitely sneak Fualos in here too. Alright, if there are any decks that I forgot whatsoever, please put them down in the comment section down below. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I am going to forget some stuff, and the game has over like 300 archetypes at this point, so I'm always going to forget something. Whatever you're playing, put it in the comment section down below, even if it is one of the decks that I put in the video. La, 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 la.